Fantastic. We'll start straight from the floor.
Congratulations. Would you mind just summing up your thoughts on the game and what a big win that is for Australia?
Well, first of all, it's just a sense of pride, I guess, seeing these players that could use all the excuses in the world not to perform today, playing the team that's the best form in the world right now, 30 games unbeaten. They play phenomenal football, England, and Euro champions. We had 10 injuries going into this game, and there could be a lot of excuses not to perform, but that's not what this team is about. So to be part of that type of identity and the heart that lives in this team, but then combining that heart with head, meaning the discipline of the tactical execution tonight, was brilliant. So that combination between head and heart is what makes me really proud.
Yeah, you seem quite happy to maybe not press high on England, but then counter-attack when you got the ball. Was that always in your thinking, and can you sort us through why that was and why it worked so well?
Well, as we always do, we scout the opposition, and I need to credit my analysis team and my assistants. They've done a phenomenal job identifying key areas in England game. They have a lot of weapons, and I mean a lot of weapons. They can play through you, they can play around you, they can play over you, and they have a lot of combination play, a lot of individual tools. And if you don't defend as a team, you get exposed, like we did a couple of times there in the middle of the second half. They can create, they can score in a lot of different ways. I think we had a very, very clear plan of what we needed to take away from England, and we did it enough times to win this game. It wasn't perfect, but it was close enough to win the game.
Next question.
Yeah, hi. This might seem like a really obvious question, given obviously how good Sam Kerr is, but just sort of how important is she to obviously your World Cup hopes, and she showed that tonight against the England team.
She did, and I think one thing is her individual qualities as a footballer, but what she gives as a person is even more valuable for this team. How she carries the team both in the locker room and on the pitch is amazing. But I also want to give credit to the players around her, how they play for her and with her. Because without a team performance against England, you can't win. But if you have a team that back up an individual player like Sam, Sam can also shine. So in that sense, I think it was a very good combination of a team effort with individual brilliance.
Thank you.
You had a little moment with her after the full-time siren. You put your arm around her and whispered in her ear. What did you say?
Well, actually, the first thing I did ask, how are you? Because I was really worried. That was my number one question. Yes, I was happy about the win, but my concern was about her health. Considering the situation we have and considering the importance of her and consider how we manage her in this camp. As you know, she didn't play against Scotland. She's coming from a very, very tough period in clubland, and we wanted to look at the bigger picture to minimize the minutes for her, but I also know how much she wanted to play this game. So my first question was, how are you doing? And then after that, obviously gave her credit for the effort and the performance she gave the team.
Tony, has this win changed your attitude in any way about the tournament itself? Does it make you believe more that you can actually win this?
This might sound a bit strange. It hasn't changed my mindset at all. This was part of a longer process. We started this more than 2 years ago. We had a very similar situation in April 21, one of my first camps, when we had a lot of players unavailable. We played Germany and Holland. We lost 5-0 and 5-2 with similar circumstances as we had in this April camp in terms of player availability. We have spent 2 years investing in depth in this roster. You see some players out here. If I said that in the press conference to some of you going into this game. We had Western Wanderers is in the A-League in Australia against Man United out here today. We had Charlotte Grant to play for Vittsjö, and a mid-table team in Sweden that plays against Chelsea. Like all these, big names, big clubs, and we might not have the biggest resources. We might not have the most players in the big clubs, in the big leagues, but what we have is heart and commitment and pride to represent Australia. And when you have that and you have a player that is disloyal and committed, I've always believed in this team, and I'm so proud to be part of it. So in that sense, the internal belief have always been there, but I also think it's very important we don't get carried away now. We need to stay very, very humble, because I said that after the Scotland loss as well. Sometimes you're not as bad as people say you are when you lose, but you're not as good as people say you are when you win either. So we need to stay in that boring grey area and middle ground to stay grounded and humble here now. But we know that at any given day, we might not have the best team, but we can beat the best team. And that's what needed in a tournament. And you saw a lot of tournament football out there today. I don't want to go into details, but there was a lot of tactical things in that game that we had practice in terms of game management and tournament football. Because you know what it takes when it comes to tournament, and a lot of those things were applied tonight.
Final question to Amelia.
Just on, obviously, it seemed like a different match this time compared to Scotland last week. What do you think really worked this time around that didn't last week?
I think we were a bit blinded by the result against Scotland, looking at it as a really bad performance. We had a spell in the first half against Scotland, about 12 to 15 minutes, that weren't good. But other than that, we were very dominant in that game. We created a lot. We had 17 shots, 17 to 10, but we didn't convert. And that's football at times. So we dug in deep into that game and made sure that the players saw that game more clearly, almost scoreboard blind, like take away the result and look at the performance. We learned a lot in the period we were bad in the first half against Scotland, and we learned a lot in the period when we dominated them completely, when we didn't convert. Scotland was good. I'm not taking away the win from them, not at all. But we were better than the result was showing. And then you see tonight, I think when we download the game tonight, I also think we're going to see maybe it wasn't a 2-0 game, because England created a lot of chances and they didn't convert. So maybe we need to come down and be a bit more humble about this performance in that sense. So there's always a balance in between that.
Sorry, one question from Rich.
Yeah.
Finally.
Tony, you mentioned one goal scorer. Can you speak about the other goal scorer tonight and Charlie Grant's evolution in this team? Does that reflect your overall project with the Matildas?
I think you're spot on. Look at Charlotte Grant's journey. She had 0 caps when I came on board. And I want to be very, very clear on this one, and I've said it from day one. The work that Australian football is doing with the players that we have is why we can perform this way. The development happens in the clubs, and we are there scouting every single game. We're even there watching training, and I'm so appreciative for what all the coaches and players and clubs are doing back home to develop our players. And then some of them have really flown, and then the big clubs over here in Europe are there, scouting and headhunting. And there's, like some coach said to me from some clubs that was friends of mine saying, hey, there's a lot of diamonds there, that we can, rough diamonds that we can get into the big clubs. And I think tonight some of those players are going to probably approached from some of the bigger clubs. And I think Charlie just proved from day one, when she struggled a bit at international football, which is natural because the tempo is much higher than they used to, but with the right mindset. And this is a long answer, but she really represents a lot of the things and the grit in this team. She was put in the stands when she plays in Rosengård for the club in Sweden. Not even in the game roster, and then loaned out to Vittsjö. And look at what she does now against England away. Like that grit and commitment to always get one day better. I'm so happy for her. And she represents a lot for what this team stands for.
Fantastic. That concludes the press conference. Thanks, everyone. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Thanks.